तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्। तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्। भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्।
हरि श्री गणपति ओम, हरि श्री गणपति ओम, हरि श्री गणपति ओम, हरि श्री गणपति ओम, हरि गणपति ओम, हरे गणपति ओम, हरे गणपति ओम, हरे गणपति ओम। विश्वाधारा विघ्न विनाशक, विश्वाधारा विघ्न विनाशक, विश्वाधारा विघ्न विनाशक, विश्वाधारा विघ्न विनाशक। वीर गणपति ओम, वीर गणपति ओम, वीर गणपति ओम,
विभव ब्रह्मेन्द्र गङ्गाधरां त्वां त्रैलोक्यकुटुम्बिनीं सरसिजां वन्दे मुकुन्दप्रियां
वीणावादिनी सरस्वती माता जगत्पालिनी लक्ष्मी माता
महालक्ष्मी च विद्महे विष्णुपत्नी च धीमहि तन्नो लक्ष्मी प्रचोदयात्।
अम्बा भवानी गौरी माता साई माता जगज्जननी माहे जगत्पालिनी लक्ष्मी माता
जगत्पालिनी लक्ष्मी माता
जगत्पालिनी लक्ष्मी माता
जगत्पालिनी लक्ष्मी माता
अम्बा भवानी गौरी माता
अम्बा भवानी गौरी माता
अम्बा भवानी गौरी माता
अम्बा भवानी गौरी माता
साई माता जगज्जननी
साई माता जगज्जननी
साई माता जगज्जननी
साई माता जगज्जननी
माहे
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 साई माता जगज्जननी
साई माता
जननी
साई माता जग जननी
माँ हे माँ। त्रिपुर सुंदरी माँ अम्बा दया सागरी माँ।
त्रिपुर सुंदरी माँ अम्बा दया सागरी माँ।
त्रिपुर सुंदरी माँ अम्बा दया सागरी माँ।
त्रिपुर सुंदरी माँ अम्बा दया सागरी माँ।
सुंदर वदनी माँ अम्बा सुगुण मनोहरी 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 माँ।
जय जग जननी माँ अम्बा जगदोधारिणी माँ।
जय जग जननी माँ अम्बा जगदोधारिणी
प्रतिनिवासिनी माँ अम्बा पाप विमोचनी माँ।
प्रतिनिवासिनी माँ अम्बा पाप विमोचनी माँ।
त्रिपुर सुंदरी माँ अम्बा दया सागरी माँ।
त्रिपुर सुंदरी माँ अम्बा दया सागरी माँ।
सुंदर वदनी माँ अम्बा सुगुण मनोहरी माँ।
सुंदर वदनी माँ अम्बा सुगुण मनोहरी माँ।
जय जग जननी माँ अम्बा जगदोधारिणी माँ।
जय जग जननी माँ अम्बा जगदोधारिणी माँ।
प्रतिनिवासिनी माँ अम्बा पाप विमोचनी माँ।
प्रतिनिवासिनी माँ अम्बा पाप विमोचनी माँ।
त्रिपुर सुंदरी माँ, अम्ब दया सागरी माँ। जय संतोषी माँ, जय जय साई माँ।
जय संतोषी माँ, जय जय साई माँ।
जय संतोषी माँ, जय जय साई माँ।
जय संतोषी माँ, जय जय साई माँ।
जय संतोषी माँ, जय जय साई माँ।
जय संतोषी माँ, जय जय साई माँ।
जय संतोषी माँ, जय जय साई माँ।
जय संतोषी माँ, जय जय साई माँ।
जय संतोषी माँ, जय जय साई माँ।
जय संतोषी माँ, जय जय साई माँ।
मंगल करणी माँ साई, संकट हरणी 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 माँ।
त्रिलोकपालिनी माँ साई, त्रिशूलधारिणी 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 माँ।
जय संतोषी माँ, जय जय साई 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 माँ।
मंगल करणी माँ साई, संकट हरणी माँ।
मंगल करणी माँ साई, संकट हरणी माँ।
त्रिलोकपालिनी माँ साई, त्रिशूलधारिणी 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 माँ।
जय संतोषी माँ, जय जय साई माँ। जगदोधारिणी माता दुर्गा, जगदोधारिणी माँ।
जगदोधारिणी माता दुर्गा, जगदोधारिणी माँ।
जगदोधारिणी माता दुर्गा, जगदोधारिणी माँ।
जगदोधारिणी माता दुर्गा, जगदोधारिणी माँ।
जागो जागो माँ, जागो जागो माँ। जागो जागो माँ जननी।
जागो जागो माँ, जागो जागो माँ। जागो जागो माँ जननी।
जागो जागो माँ, जागो जागो माँ। जागो जागो माँ जननी।
जागो जागो माँ, जागो जागो माँ। जागो जागो माँ जननी।
हे दुर्गा देवी, रण चंडी देवी, हे शिव रमणा जागो मां
हे शिवरमणा जागो मां
हे शिवरमणा जागो मां
हे शिवरमणा जागो मां
जागो जगदो धारिणी जागो जगदो धारिणी जगदो धारिणी माता दुर्गा जगदो धारिणी
जगदो धारिणी माता दुर्गा जगदो धारिणी
जागो जागो मां जागो जागो मां जागो जागो मां जननी
जागो जागो मां जागो जागो मां जागो जागो मां जननी
हे दुर्गा देवी रणचण्डी देवी हे शिवरमणा जागो मां
हे दुर्गा देवी रणचण्डी देवी हे शिवरमणा जागो मां
हे शिवरमणा जागो मां
हे शिवरमणा जागो मां
जागो जगदो धारिणी
जागो जगदो धारिणी
जागो जगदो धारिणी
जागो जगदो धारिणी
जगदो
धारिणी माता दुर्गा जगदो धारिणी
मंगल शुभकरी माता महेश्वरी
मंगल शुभकरी माता महेश्वरी
मंगल शुभकरी माता महेश्वरी
मंगल शुभकरी माता महेश्वरी
अम्बे भवानी अखिलांडेश्वरी
अम्बे भवानी अखिलांडेश्वरी
अम्बे भवानी अखिलांडेश्वरी
अम्बे भवानी अखिलांडेश्वरी
मंगल शुभकरी माता महेश्वरी
मंगल शुभकरी माता महेश्वरी
राजीवलोचनी राजराजेश्वरी
राजीवलोचनी राजराजेश्वरी
राजीवलोचनी राजराजेश्वरी
राजीवलोचनी राजराजेश्वरी
आदि पराशक्ति श्री परमेश्वरी
आदि पराशक्ति श्री परमेश्वरी
आदि पराशक्ति श्री परमेश्वरी
आदि पराशक्ति श्री परमेश्वरी
आनंद रूपिणी साई शिव शंकरी
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 मंगल शुभकरी माता महेश्वरी
मंगल शुभकरी माता महेश्वरी
अम्बे भवानी अखिलांडेश्वरी
अम्बे भवानी अखिलांडेश्वरी
मंगल शुभकरी माता महेश्वरी
शुभकरी माता महेश्वरी
राजीवलोचनी राजराजेश्वरी आदि पराशक्ति श्री परमेश्वरी आनंद रूपिणी साई शिव शंकरी
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 मंगल शुभकरी माता महेश्वरी माता माता साई माता
माता साई माता
माता माता साई माता
माता साई माता
जगत माता साई विश्व माता
माता साई विश्व माता
जगत माता साई विश्व माता
माता साई विश्व माता
माता माता साई माता
माता साई माता
दुर्गा भवानी काली कपालिनी
भवानी काली कपालिनी
दुर्गा भवानी काली कपालिनी
भवानी काली कपालिनी
शांतिदायिनी साई माता
शांतिदायिनी साई माता
शांतिदायिनी साई माता
शांतिदायिनी साई माता
माता माता साई माता
माता माता साई माता
जगत माता साई विश्व माता
जगत माता साई विश्व माता
माता माता साई माता
माता माता साई माता
दुर्गा भवानी काली कपालिनी
भवानी काली कपालिनी
शांतिदायिनी साई माता
शांतिदायिनी साई माता
शांतिदायिनी साई माता
शांतिदायिनी साई माता
माता माता साई माता
जय जग जननी
जगजननी
जय जग जननी
जगजननी
जय 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 साई शिव शंकरी साई परमेश्वरी
शिव शंकरी साई परमेश्वरी
साई शिव शंकरी साई परमेश्वरी
शिव शंकरी साई परमेश्वरी
अम्बे भवानी माँ जय
अम्बे भवानी माँ जय
भवानी मां जय जय जग जननी साई परमेश्वरी
शिव शंकरी साई परमेश्वरी
अम्बे भवानी मां जय अम्बे भवानी मां जय जय जग जननी
The one B-52 bomb can wipe out leprosy in India. Placebo is the power of the mind. And we know giving placebos have cured cancer. In the blink of an eye, his life changed. I lost my mother and my brother in the last 3 years. They would not release the body unless the bills were paid. There's no billing department in these hospitals. Draupadi goes through this dishonor and she finally meets Krishna. She asks Krishna, why did you come right away? St. Francis comes 1200 years later and he has stigmata. At a time when there's missiles going across the world and people are trying to destroy each other, what matters is, that you've given unconditional love. And I think there was a Polish priest, a very famous line, said, Eterna non caduca, which means, what does this have to do with eternity?
Dr. Anil Nanda, a pioneer in neurosurgery, is Vice President of the American Academy of Neurological Surgery and Editor-in-Chief of the World Federation of Neurological Societies Journal since 2023. His deep bond with Bhagwan dates back to the 1970s.
Well, firstly, I feel enormously blessed every time I come to this heavenly abode because I feel that everything I am, or the little that I've accomplished, is because of Bhagwan Baba's grace. So I feel an enormous sense of gratitude whenever I come here. I think that's an important message to get out to the world, that there's no billing department in these hospitals. That at a time when there's so much emphasis on finances, especially in India, I lost my mother and my brother in the last 3 years. And I thought it was very poignant that they would not release the body unless the bills were paid. And I thought that was very harsh, And then I reflected on that, and like in Swami's hospitals, they don't have any. And I think that compassion and love is so important that in medicine we've forgotten that. I'm told that, certain cases, they will not do the operation because people don't have the funds for it. And they will not do the bypass. So you don't have that here. And I think a message of hope and optimism is what Sai Healthcare conveys. There's skeptics who will say, well, this is not feasible, this cannot be done. But the proof of the pudding is this has happened and it's gone on for a quarter of a century now. And it's only getting better. So, we have proven to the cynics and the skeptics who would say healthcare is a profit-oriented business and that's all it is. And I think Swami has reminded us in his own inimitable way that it is love and compassion that fuels this. And if you have the right team and the right approach and you get dedicated professionals, because this is a call, this is a profession of the calling, you know what I mean? And it's a healing profession and there's altruism involved. And, some of the physicians could quadruple their salaries if they went elsewhere. Well, why don't they do that? It's because they're committed and they like the atmosphere of helping people unconditionally. And I guess from an Indian cultural point of view, there's the expression Jan Janmantra Punya. that when you do these acts of unconditional love with no money involved, the next couple of generations, you're going to be blessed. And I think that's important. And I think it's good for a global audience to see, listen, there's still this, hamlet here of temples of healing where it's run very efficiently. It's very high tech. It's not some, ABCD simple math thing. This is high level calculus people are doing with really good results. I mean, you look at the infection rates, look at the complication rates, they're very low. So there's something special going on here, and we need to recognize it. And we also need to pay an enormous tribute to Bhagwan Baba for his vision and for having put this dream into reality, and more importantly, keeping it sustainable. Because, a lot of people will start something and then it'll sputter and then it's gone. But you think about it, Swami's still here. He may have left his physical body, but these things are robust institutions that are doing well. There's people getting trained, writing papers, getting gold medals, and you're training the next generation of people. And, the stories today were so powerful that patients came that had never heard of Swami. They couldn't afford healthcare. They get it, and they're like, I'm putting my kids in school here. I'm going to move here. I'm going to join Saibhajan. And that's gratitude, because a lot of people, no matter what you do, they're resentful. The world today, victimology is a real problem. Okay, my mom didn't love me enough. I'm not paid enough. The job isn't good. At a time when there's missiles going across the world and people are trying to destroy each other, and the leadership in many of the countries is not exactly altruistic or noble. This is a great message. This is a message. This is a timeless and immortal message. You know what I mean? It's not anything different than what Lord Rama taught us or what Lord Krishna taught us. And I just think it was invigorated by Swami in a beautiful way. And so many of us were blessed to experience that. That we could have bathed in that grace, that we could have the fragrance of devotion through him. You see somebody who's 25 years old and he's quadriplegic. In the blink of an eye, his life changed irreversibly. Or, I have to go and tell an 18-year-old's parents that their daughter that they loved and nurtured is brain dead. Or tell somebody at 50, you've got a brain tumor, you got 6 months to live. So I think in our field, we are constantly subjected to these vicissitudes of fortune, where your life changes in the blink of an eye. And all you can say is, but for the grace of God. And I think that's where Swami's message is really, really important. That, I'm with you, I'm in you, I'm around you. I read that line every day without fail. Because even though I know it's true, I don't practice it enough. I don't think any of us practice. And I think that's so important.
So true, sir. Now, how do you think we can replicate what is happening in these institutions elsewhere?
Jesus only had 12 apostles. Okay, there were 12 apostles, and there's 1.2 billion Christians now. And one of his most effective apostles was Paul, who'd never seen Jesus. So I think there'll be many Pauls from this movement. I think there's people who have never seen Swami. And I know somebody in New Jersey, and Vibhuti comes in her picture, she never saw Swami. And yet her faith is ratified. You know what I mean? I think there will, with his grace, there will be people. I mean, you look at Shirdi today, 50,000 people who are there every day. You know what I mean? So I think the movement will blossom. It will grow, and it will be exponential. The science of medicine, this is the bone, it breaks, put a plaster around it. But the art is sitting down, making eye contact, putting their hand on the shoulder, holding their hand, and giving them hope. We're going to get you better. We're going to get you to a better place, And the line I always tell my patients is, this will be in your rearview mirror. Don't worry. We'll get you there. And that's where the healing comes in. I think that's where Swami teaches us that you must have love, you must have compassion, And, like I said there, Keenan was a theologian who said, mercy is entering into the anarchy of another. And in healthcare, every day we enter into the anarchy of another person. And, I feel that way, but every day I operate. Could I have done anything better? Did I make a mistake? Because if you don't have that self-reflection, I don't think you improve,
Absolutely. Self-reflection is so important. And the mind plays a big role in the healing of the patient as well, isn't it?
Placebo is the power of the mind. And we know giving placebos have cured cancer. Now, it doesn't work all the time. But it gives us an inkling that the mind is a powerful healer. And in the right circumstances, it will make a difference.
Can I ask you, were there instances where you saw something which left you completely astounded?
There's something called aneurysms, little bubbles in the brain. And, nowadays we fix them to the groin. But, I did like 1,000 of those. And they would burst sometimes. And I think when I spoke in 2005, I talked about that. And the example I gave is, when Draupadi goes through this dishonor and she finally meets Krishna. And, the miracles happen. She's saved her modesty. And she asks Krishna, why didn't you come right away? And Krishna is very nutcut. So he says, you said Dwarka Maya. And I had to come all the way from Dwarka. If you'd said Hridayavasi, I would have been there right away. So whenever I get a complication in the OR, I'm like, listen, I'm saying Hridayavasi, bail me out. And he always does.
Oh.
I will say that. I had 3 ruptures in the last month. Every time I'm okay, sorry, gotta bail me out on this one, I'm nobody. This is you who's gonna bail me through. And every time patients, and these were older patients with big blood clots in coma, and everything bursts and hell breaks loose. And all I'm thinking of is, Swami, get me through this. It's your hands. You're going to, and it works. I really believe every time I've been in a jam, nothing works like prayer, And, there are people who are atheists, they don't believe. I believe. I'm like, this is, I never tell the patient, patients get happy. I'm like, don't thank me. Thank the big man, with grace. I'm a punctuation mark, you know what I mean?
Wow. I think as you grow and accomplish more things, you also see how someone else is making things happen for you. And then all these worldly achievements don't mean much after a while, isn't it?
What matters is, that you've given unconditional love, that you've practiced loving kindness, that you've been important to the people around you. And I think that's the biggest gift of Ram Baba, that he put in these spiritual genes in us at a young age. So this Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema, it's in your chromosomes. You may fight it. I probably fought it when I was younger. But as I got older, I was like, this is the most supreme gift there is. And I think the gift of faith is phenomenal. Because you can beat anything. We all go through vicissitudes of fortune. Right? You go up, suddenly somebody says, this is bad, or that's bad. And you think, oh my God. And then you realize, it's okay. We're going to be fine. You get through. Sometimes we are bogged down in trivia on Instagram or Facebook or some of the stuff. That's the rules of grammar. That's not going to give you salvation. You know what I mean? And I think there was a Polish priest who had a very famous line said, Eterna non caduca, which means, what does this have to do with eternity? And you have to ask yourself, you missed the train. My flight got canceled when I was coming here. And so I didn't know if I was going to make it, saw me arrange, I can't. What does this have to do with eternity? You know what I mean?
Such a powerful phrase. What has this got to do with eternity?
What has it got to do with eternity? Very little. You know what I mean? And our day-to-day things that we think are important and trivial. And, I think that's, if I had to think of regrets, we had such good proximity with Bhajan. My mother wouldn't move to a house unless Swami said it was okay to move to that house. And now I feel like we desecrated him. We burdened him with, it's like asking somebody, can you put an IV, Swami, into our arm? Can you make sure my Italy is good or healthy? It's so trivial. And he was so kind. Like, these are my kids. I'm going to take them. And so, you realize we kind of wasted some, I would have liked to have asked some more serious, deep theological questions. Well, that's like,
You know, it feels like you had a diamond in your hand, but you didn't even treat it like a glass.
or charcoal.
Or
I mean, we treat it like charcoal. We're like, this is, but we did have a sense of belonging.
we did.
We loved
yeah.
Swami unconditionally.
Unconditioned. That is there.
I mean, I can tell you that every time I was 15, every time I'd have this sobbing. I remember the guy who ran Vrindavan Ashram, Ram Brahman.
Ram Brahma.
Oh, what a great guy. He was there. But the thing that the people that were surrounding him, Radha Krishna,
Oh, yes.
so lovely person. I knew him well. You know what I mean? He was so kind. He was a good human being.
Yes.
And so those memories, they held us.
Chanda. Oh, yes.
I have in my operating room, in my locker, a picture of Shirdi Baba Guru Nanak that Kaldas gave me when I just finished medical school.
Oh.
50 years later, it's still in my locker in the operating room. But they were enormous devotees. You know what I mean? What was his name? Bhagwantam. And then the dean of the college.
Professor Narendra.
No, Gokak.
Gokak, sir.
Gokak.
Vice Chancellor.
He's a literary scholar. And he would quote. And it's funny. I'm 15 years old, and he's quoting the poems of Matthew Arnold. And I'm like, wow. And they still stuck with me. So that tells you that these summer courses that Swami did, they were phenomenal catalysts. I mean, he had TMP Mahadevan coming and talking about the Dvaita, Vashishta Dvaita. We were like Delhi boys. We were like listening to the Beatles. Completely disconnected from our culture. And Swami was like, "There's depth here." And the way he would end his discourse, Divya Atma Swarup Tulara, you're all embodiments of the divine. It's just, and he sent letters like to my mom. And some of the letters I still read, and I'm always happy to share those. But there was a line in one of his letters, "What are we but tears and laughter between earth and sky?"
Oh.
Such a beautiful line. So I had doubts, okay? I was like, this is too good a line. I'm going to Google this. Maybe this is Shakespeare. Maybe this is Shelley. Or this is Byron. Nobody had written that. And, I'm like, oh, sorry, please forgive me. I didn't mean to doubt you. But, here's somebody, just even on ordinary, so I didn't go to college. So I'm writing meticulous, quaint English. The letters he wrote to my mother, he said, love grows by giving and forgiving. Self grows by getting and forgetting. So I remember coming after Swami had left his body. And there were, a lot of old devotees used to sit in the veranda. And there was somebody who was singing that bhajan. I think you might have Saibhajan, been asked to Prasanthi. And I just happened to look, and this old man in his 70s, I think it was Sundaraj, was just sobbing. He was sobbing. And I'm like, wow, that's love. That is love. That big guy, and he was like, he's obviously missing something. I think all of us should have that. I mean, my feeling of it is just we constantly got to remind ourselves how blessed we are. End of discussion. You know what I mean? That's what we got to remind ourselves. It's easy to become cynical and say, this is not right, or, the weather's not good. I can get a parking spot. The patient didn't show up. My talk got canceled. It's not that important. It really isn't. And I think you should compare it. Like you think of Jesus, and the most important person after Jesus in Christianity, probably Paul, but is St. Francis. St. Francis comes 1,200 years later, and he has stigmata. He has the sign, and he's bleeding from his hand. So he was a realized soul. So how many St. Francis will Swami produce? How many Vivekanandas will come out of Swami's lineage? Lots. And that's what we have to, and a lot of people have never seen Swami, but they'll read about him. And it's like the Bhagavatam, you know what I mean? When Parikshit is dying, he didn't see Krishna. But they're telling him, the moment this person dies, the moment Kunti hears that Krishna is dead, she falls dead. My mother used to always tell me, I'm not a great devotee. She said, when Kunti heard that Krishna was gone, she died on the spot. And she was kind of blind. Swami went, I should have fallen on the spot. But it was kind of interesting,
Coming back to Swami's institutions, when someone asks you about these institutions in the US or elsewhere, what's your general response?
Well, I tell them that this is an enormous mission that's being carried out in India for people that need this. And I think it's an important spiritual mission. And so, my office obviously has these pictures of Swami. And every time I give a talk, Baba's picture, and there's my guru. And so I always, it's always in a positive light, all the work that's going on. And an inspirational tone, too, because I would be, 0.001% the person I am were it not for Swami. Like, I have no doubt about that. You know what I mean? Like, everything. And that's why I always feel that I can never do what he did for me. It'll take me many, many, many lifetimes to repay everything. Because it was like the divine touch. Like Ramana Maharishi, apparently you were in the room with him and you got cosmic energy. And I think same thing with Swami. And he's like, okay, cool, you guys, you're set. You know what I mean? And I think it's a great gift. It really is. And I just feel grateful that at least I can articulate some of these things and let people know that, he was a catalyst, very powerful spiritual catalyst that uplifted, probably millions of people,
And I think we are still seeing only the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, I agree. And I think, but you got to remember you look at Islam, Muhammad comes, look at what keeps going. So I think, and you look at Shirdi's got, tons of people still going there. So, and I think we just need to focus on the mission, just to do good deeds, and simple things. And also, that's what I said there, like, they will know we are Christians by our love. It's a beautiful hymn. And I said, they will know we are Sai devotees by the way we treat people. Whether we are humble, whether we're kind, whether we're grateful. You can say all you want. I do Vishnu Sahasranama, I get up in the morning, I do Suprabhatam, I do all these things. Those are rituals and they're important. But that's not what Swami expects from us. He expects us to be good at all times, And I tell my kids, I said, Hinduism comes down to one line. And Krishna tells Arjuna that if you see me in all beings, and you see all beings in me, you are very dear to me. And I think that's what Swami said. And for us, it's easy. There's a movie called Madagascar, where the lion goes through this phase where everything looks like state. You know what I mean? So all these animals you were friends with, they're all become states. And I use that as I give a talk on that. I said, I want that gift that I see everything as Swami. No matter where I go, I just see him. That would be the great gift. Because then you have transcended it. And it's something you'll spend lifetimes doing. You won't get there, but at least you should try.
I think that is what is constant integrated awareness.
It is.
Swami used to.
Did you see that light, that celestial light in everybody at all times, without making judgment? Because people are going to be obnoxious to you. Okay, I don't care what you say. Somebody's going to be obnoxious. Somebody's going to be mean. And the Dalai Lama actually has written about this. He said, you need people like that because that's how you practice forbearance and patience. It's easy to be patient to a good person. It's easy to be nice to you. You're being so nice to me. But if somebody comes and is obnoxious to me, that's where you have to have forbearance. And that's what Shri Baba said, Shraddha and Saburi. Shraddha is easy. Not easy, but it's easier. Saburi, forbearance. And forbearance is knowing that waiting is something good in it. Because you want it right away. Like, why am I just chill out. It'll happen.
This is absolutely beautiful, sir. The world will know that we are Sai devotees from the way we treat people.
And we have failed Bhagwan if we don't do it right. Let there be a warning with that too. Because to whom much is given, much is expected. So he has inundated us with grace. And if we don't live up to that, then we will be a disappointment. In fact, some of the letters Swami wrote to the hostel boys in Vrindavan was out of 180 of you, one of you become a true person is enough for me. It's beautifully those written. Those letters are really, really good. I read those. My brother made copies of that, so I can't read all of them. And I like the prayer of surrender. That's in front of the cafeteria. It's a beautiful prayer. You just leave it to me. Don't you obsess about this. And I think that's one thing that some theologians say, the opposite of faith is not doubt. The opposite of faith is anxiety. Because if you have anxiety, that means you don't have faith.
Correct.
Because if you have faith, you have no anxiety. When Swami is going to take care of it.
They say is FAITH, forsaking all, I trust him.
I like that. But feel that.
Well, everything comes down to faith, and whoever can take that leap of faith will make miracles happen.
It's divine prosperity that Swami is sending all. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. Sairam.
ॐ जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी सत्य साई हरे भक्त जना संरक्षक भक्त जना संरक्षक पति महेश्वरा ॐ जय जगदीश हरे शशिवदना श्रीकरा सर्वा प्राणपते स्वामी सर्वा प्राणपते आश्रित कल्पलतिका आश्रित कल्पलतिका आपदान्धवा ॐ जय जगदीश हरे मातपिता गुरुदैवमु मरियन्तयु नीवे स्वामी मरियन्तयु नीवे नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नागेन्द्रशयन ॐ जय जगदीश हरे ओंकार रूप ओजस्वी हो साई महादेवा सत्य साई महादेवा मंगल आरती अंधुको मंगल आरती अंधुको मंदर गिरिधारी ओम जय जगदीश हरे नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा शांति 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 समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।